Okay, I've been playing around with some graphs trying to figure out how to make this mouse's ear. So I looked at the big part of his ear and thought that looks like a circle, and I kind of estimated where the center of the circle is and the radius, and I came up with this equation, but it's a little off. Looks like my center is a little bit too low, so I'm going to raise my y coordinate just a little bit. That looks a lot better. It's kind of hard to, it looks like maybe my radius is a little bit too small still. Let me make it, try that's a little bigger. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty decent. Maybe change this just a little bit to the right or to the left. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with my equation now. But I don't want that whole circle. I only want it to go. I still think maybe my radius needs to be a little bigger. Try that. Maybe move it a little bit more to the left. Let's see, 78, 9. Okay, there. I'm happy with that now. Okay, but I only want the circle going from maybe about right here, negative 2.79 to 2.79, negative. So maybe about negative 3 here, 3.07. It looks like that might work for both. So let me just try this. I want x to the right of 3.07. So I'm going to open a curly bracket, x greater than negative 3.07. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. That looks like a good fit for my ear. And by the way, if you want to change the color of your graph, I changed it to orange so it would show up better. You hold down on this circle and then move over and you can click a color. So obviously if it was black it wouldn't show up and that wouldn't be very helpful. But it's orange and that makes it easier. You can also make it dotted if that's helpful. But right now orange is fine. So I may use a little bit of orange. Okay, the next graph. Now I'm looking for this little section of the ear right here, and I'm thinking, oh, that sort of looks like kind of a wide upside down parabola. And so I'm looking at the vertex of the parabola being about right here, so that's where I got the point negative 3.75, positive 3.6. And this is just kind of a guess, negative 1/10. I know it needs to be kind of wide, and I know that if I want my graph to be wide, that this coefficient would be small. So I'm going to just try this out and see how it looks. Okay, well, it doesn't fit exactly. It's a little bit too wide. So let me narrow this down a little bit. Let's make this negative 1/8. Make this a little bit smaller. Still too wide. 6. Still a little bit too wide. See, I want it to connect up with the other part of the ear. Let's try 5. That looks pretty good. It seems to connect well to the ear. So I want this to start where the other part of the ear ended. Okay, so I'm going to say, and I also don't want it to go past here. It looks like it's about where I need it to end, maybe right here. So negative 4.32. So negative 4.32 is less than x is less than, and then I'm going to do the negative 3.07 so it will join up nicely with the other part of the ear. Now it's not perfect. If I zoom in on this, oops, wrong direction. If I zoom in on this and look at it, I want to make sure the connection's good. I can turn this off to see how it works. Okay, the connection's not perfect. This is where I may want to tinker with this a little bit more and make it look slightly different. Looks like I still want to bring this down just a little bit, maybe. That's better. 3. It's a little too much. 3.5. Okay, so see how I played around with my graph until I made the connection just perfect. Then I would go back and look and see how nicely that fits the curve of the ear of the mouse. So this is what you're going to be doing with, and you can see that this will take a little while to do all the little pieces here, but just to make this ear, I'm going to probably have to use 3 or 4 graphs just to make the ear. So this is how you go with putting the equations in and starting to find the restrictions for those. I can also restrict y. I could restrict in the y direction as well as in the x direction if I want to say I want everything above or below something rather than to the left or the right of something. Sometimes you're going to have to copy an equation onto a line and repeat the equation and put a different restriction on it to get exactly what you want. Always save when you're done so you don't lose any of your equations. And by the way, once you have equations and if you go to printing the graph, as I showed you before, the equations will show up now. So I'll see on the second page now my equations. So I can save equations by printing if I want to, if you just want to back up. So that's your first lesson on getting started with restrictions.